Hi, and welcome to week 12. This week we're going to start a book cover design. So, kind of changing our ideas, but thinking about how important font is and how it can affect an entire book cover. I want to start by just a little link to history again. It's just one little website. I don't want you to forget about history and how typography has gone through art. So, take a look at that. And then I have what makes a good book cover design. We've got a few sites here for you to look through. How to design a great book cover. This one is really kind of an interesting site. Your book will be judged by its cover, and that's good. We know the saying, don't judge a book by its cover, but it's not the reality of life. I know a lot of times we've talked about product packaging and how maybe if you're unsure of what brand to use or which one might be more interesting, you kind of go by the look of the label. So that's the same thing we do with books. They're objectively good and bad book covers, and again, it's a little unfortunate because it is objective. You're not going to say, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, it's perfect. So we need to think about who our target audience is, what is the book about, and how are we going to drag an audience in. So this is saying a book cover designer, you are the book cover designer. So go ahead and look through that. How to design a good book cover. So this is kind of what we were talking about. Do the pre-production so that the production runs more smoothly. I'm not requiring you show references or research, but I would highly recommend look what's out there. Look in the genre. Look from the author. Look at what you enjoy and if that's something that you can incorporate into your own design or if you're going to have to kind of break outside of that barrier. I do want this to be 100% your own work. So if you do use imagery, make sure you're taking the images yourself. If you're going to create anything, obviously the illustrations will be yours. What makes for a brilliant book cover? So we've got some nice examples in here and this person's thoughts. And I'll let you read that one. And then just 50 book covers to inspire you. So use white space to create focus. Nice way of creating hierarchy too. And I'll let you go through all of these, but just some really interesting books to look at. So I wanted to talk about some books that I have. I just grabbed a random assortment from my bookshelf, but I want you to pay attention to the colors, the font choices, and the designs. So you might not all be familiar with these books, and that's completely fine. So Jason Segel, who was in like How I Met Your Mother and Forgetting Sarah Marshall, he did a children's book. I mean, obviously it's not for baby children, but young children. And I thought they did a really nice job with their cover design. It's supposed to be a scary story. It's called Nightmares, but you get the idea that it's for children. You know, they've used a really interesting font and they've drawn attention to it. You know, we always say never judge a book by its cover, but of course it always kind of is. So, moving up, Harry Potter, you can decide on your own who you want this to be for. But this version is the paperback. It's a little bit simplified. But we have our branded Harry Potter font, J.K. Rowling. Turn it the right way for you. And then our back to get our viewers' attention. Now, both of these are purple for the most part. Now, if you look at the Harry Potter collection, they're all different colors for each book. But think about the colors that these have chosen and the font choices that they have and how that relates to the book. Where the Crawdad Sings is like Oprah's book club, or I'm sorry, Reese Witherspoon's book club. It's, you know, more of a serious book geared towards adults, but you can see how, sorry, I'm trying to figure out the angle, how this book, you get a calming feel from it. It seems like an interesting read, maybe a light traveling read. I'll get this eventually. the imagery carries over from the front to the side. And then on the back, they chose to do reviews that they got. So I can't even express how much I love this book. I didn't want this story to end, from Reese Witherspoon. Color choices. Text is kind of plain, but powerful. We're getting into the honkers of a book here. Stephen King, The Institute. For those of you who don't know, Stephen King writes scarier books. So we're still dealing in the same kind of colors as that Nightmares book that I talked about, but we're getting kind of interesting that Stephen King is the most important because he's a well-known author. So, you know, we want a hierarchy. Stephen King is going to draw the attention more than the Institute is going to draw the attention. Okay? And then imagery broken up on the back. And then we have the brief summary of the book on the back. There's also a barcode. So when you're thinking of what do I want to include in my kind of dust jacket, how do I want to make it look, get reference. If you don't have books at home, which is fine, but ask some people. Take pictures of books. I'd be happy to take pictures of books. I have a bunch. But again, research what's on the back. Why do you think that's important? How are they doing the front? Are the titles more important? Is the author more important? Most of the time, you use an easy-to-read font. Sometimes you have kind of a branded font or something more excited. So you need to think about what audience you're gearing towards and how you're going to target them. All right, so now back to my computer screen. All right, so what are we actually doing? You're going to create a book cover for your favorite book. You can make up a sequel to your favorite book as well if you feel like you can't quite break away from what the actual cover is. So your final is going to be the full cover. So imagine that jacket sleeve kind of opened up. You'll have the front, the spine, and the back all in one piece, and I'll go over what I mean by this. The piece is going to be 12.75 by 8.5 inches. The spine is 0.75 inches. You want to organize it as one piece, okay? Even if each side is a different image, I just want to see it as if we're laying it out. Think about typography, composition, color, cleanliness. Try to make this a portfolio piece for yourself, okay? Use guidelines to break up the page. Think about your font choices that will bring interest to your design. Research what information you should put on the back cover. Due Sunday, post your PDF in Canvas. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about. I have Illustrator set up here. This is how you're going to do it. I know it seems a little confusing to go back front. You kind of want it to be reversed, but think about a dust jacket or if you actually open up your book, what it's going to look like. Okay, so I have my 12.75 by 8.5. You're going to want to guideline at 6 and 6.75. This is a cool way so you can see how the three are going to interact together. That doesn't mean that you have to have one image spanning across all three, although it is an option. Okay? Think about the direction of the spine. Since I rotated it so many times, what I'm showing you should be actually this way. There we go. Now, on your back, the back portion of your cover, I know I showed you a couple different options with the books that I had. Think about what you want to put on the back. I'm going to leave that up to you, but I want this to be as realistic as possible. So make sure to have any needed information. You can use embossed looking fonts if you would like for your title, but again, we want a realistic, complete book cover. Okay, so you want to use the spacing to the best of your ability. Create hierarchy. You know, Stephen King was the most important versus some of the other titles. I will say most of the time the title is going to be the most important, so if you're not sure. All right, and then last but not least, we have a discussion board. I want a work in progress critique. Post a work in progress of your book covers. Comment on what your thought process was, what you're trying to achieve, any issues you'd like to discuss. It's really important that we help guide our fellow classmates into what we're looking for, right? I can give you a base critique, but if you've been working for days on picking the appropriate font choice for the title, I might not know that, and I might skip over that and say, it's okay, but I noticed your layout here. So tell us what you need help with, if any, or what you're wondering, does this work? Does this fit this mood that I'm trying to show, etc. Also, post an image of a book cover that you think is successful and talk about why. Maybe you've read the book, maybe you haven't. Maybe something jumped off a shelf at you, or maybe this is your tried and true, you've read it, 20 times book, and the cover just always gets you. Post early in the week as possible so that we can actually critique your work throughout the week. Comment on a minimum of 2 of your classmates' posts. All right? So dive into book covers. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you soon.